Can you, well, let's see. Carrie, can you, yeah, please, Jacqueline, just for a second.
Hey, Ryan, can you bring the technical assistance?
Yeah, but I didn't send her an invitation to this meeting, so she can't. That's on me, I forgot to do that.
68.
Does it have to be under her name?
Yeah, because I sent Barb an invitation to the trial run. But I didn't send her an invitation to this meeting because I knew she was coming here. And my computer's freaking out.
Do you want me to send her mine?
That might work, because mine's just flipping out here.
To Gmail or?
Either one is fine.
Let's see what happens. She can go to the she can go to our town website. She can go to the town website and,
Yeah, but I have to have it, so I have to,
go to the town website and click it and then,
Barb, I sent it on to you.
all right, yeah, Brian just sent it to you.
Gmail. So now I'll be like in place. 3 times. There you go.
Okay,
was there?
I think so. Let's try it again, Jackie. Maybe. All right. Yes, you can. I'm working on it. I can't find the button here. All right, I think we're ready.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Always interesting with a little technical amazing difficulties, but it looks like we've got everything set now. So thanks everybody for your patience. And I want to thank the town board for allowing us to piggyback on your regularly scheduled town board meeting for this public session on the New York Route 50 for our enhancement study. We do have a handful of things we'd like to get through tonight to share not only with the town board, but the members of the public who are joining either in person in town or are joining us via Zoom. So we want to do a brief overview of the study for those that might not walk you through that when we get here. Hopefully that'll work for you. I would like to introduce the folks that have been involved in this study. The study is being guided by the Route 50 Study Committee, which includes Supervisor Slotnick, Bill Lewis, your building inspector, J.D. Wood, zoning board member, and Kevin Perkins as the community member at large. We have been assisted by town staff members, including your town clerk, Brenda, and assisting with noticing, posting the information, and a variety of other tasks. And joining me this evening, and I will introduce everybody in just a moment, is the FJ team. FJ Engineering and Land Surveying are basically located in Saratoga County, and we are assisting the town and the Route 50 Study Committee with the technical aspects of this effort. So I am Jackie Higgs. I am the project manager for this effort, and I'm the director of planning services here at FJ Engineering. Joining me today is Chad Schneider, who's a traffic engineer, and he will be sharing the presentation duties with me this evening. Also joining us is Andres Blumberg, who is the project planner, and Ryan Cooper is joining us as well as a transportation engineer, and he is responsible for the QAQC of this effort. In terms of the study overview, the town has initiated this study to identify transportation and land use recommendations to guide growth in the corridor and accommodate existing businesses within the corridor. The intent is to examine land uses, zoning, access management, and essentially is the number of curb cuts, and the number of curb cuts along the corridor, complete streets, as well as looking at transportation and intersection improvements for multiple modes of transportation, including vehicles, public transit, pedestrians, and those things. And ultimately, the intent is for this study to serve as an update to the 2005 Route 50 Transition Area Strategic Plan. And I do want to say this study does represent the first step in an overall process. This is a conceptual level study that we are examining for potential recommendations and improvements. There will be, over the longer term, a need for future design and planning and design and construction prior to this being implemented. So I do want to point out this is the first step, high-level concept planning, but it will help to shape future improvements in the corridor. And Chad's going to talk a little bit about what those might include. There are two primary tasks associated with this particular study. The first is the overall Route 50 corridor enhancement, so that including the project coordination, meetings with your Route 50 study committee, public engagement, looking at existing conditions within the corridor and identifying opportunities and future trends. And then it will ultimately result in an enhancement study document with recommendations for future implementation items, identification of possible funding sources to forward those implementation items, and also possibly the identification of incremental phasing of those improvements depending on funding availability. The second primary task is looking at improvements to the intersection at North Line Road and Route 50. We'll talk a little bit about what that means in just a few moments. We wanted to share with everybody who may not be familiar, what the extent of the study area is. So the study area it begins at the village of Ballston Spa municipal boundary and travels through the town of Milton to the city of Saratoga Springs municipal boundary. And it also includes areas extending beyond the immediate 50 roadway corridor. So, for example, it extends over to Saratoga Avenue to the east, and a portion of the properties along the west side. So we have been working on this for several months, and we kicked off the project with an advisory committee meeting, the Route 50 Study Advisory Committee. That first meeting with the committee was in August, and we held our second meeting in services. I've been happy to see it looks like Ray from the community core EMS is there. We went to speak with him. We've spoken with the Department of Transportation. New York State Route 50 is a state roadway, and so DOT is a critical partner in this path. We've had an opportunity to meet with regional partners, including Saratoga County. North Line Road is a county roadway, so they are also a critical partner. We've met with the Capital District Transportation Committee. We have had an opportunity to meet with representatives from the city of Saratoga Springs. We are hoping to sit down soon with representatives from the village of Boston Spa. We met with some property and business owners, particularly around the intersection of North Line and Route 50, and we do plan to reach out to other property owners and business owners within the corridor to talk with them and get feedback from them. Our existing conditions evaluation is ongoing, and our public engagement is ongoing. We held a virtual public meeting in September, and for those of you that missed that and do want to see and hear what we discussed, a recording of that as well as the presentation is available on the project website, which we have developed specifically for this study, and it's milton350.com. We've also conducted an online survey that was live from September to October. And with that, I would like to share with you some of the highlights of that survey. These will be a few select highlights that we will share with you. Again, the full survey document as well as the raw results of the survey are available at milton350.com. That's miltonroute50.com. You can see at the bottom right here is the website. So this survey was conducted, it was a web-based survey conducted through SurveyMonkey, advertised through a series of flyers, survey cards, the town website, the project website. It was open from the beginning of September to the beginning of October. We did receive 120 responses, and 100% of those responses came from Saratoga County residents. The top concern identified, no surprise, as I'm sure everybody can expect, it was the traffic at the intersection of North Line and Route 50. One of the top opportunities identified from the survey responses was the continued growth of the corridor. We asked folks that were answering the survey how often they visit businesses in this study area. We wanted to get a sense of what folks were doing. Were they stopping and visiting businesses? Were they just traveling through the corridor? 57% of the respondents indicated that they visit the businesses in the study area weekly. 23% identified daily, 14% monthly, and 6% of the respondents indicated they rarely visit the businesses in the study area. We also asked how often people travel through the corridor. 59% of the respondents indicated they travel through the corridor daily, 32% weekly, and 9% indicated they travel through the corridor monthly. We also asked a pretty direct question. We asked if folks would support intersection improvements at North Line Road and Route 50. There was a strong support and strong agreement that improvements are necessary at this intersection. When we allowed for an opportunity for people to add additional comments related to this question in an open-ended question. And what was interesting about the responses here is that while there is agreement that the intersection improvements should occur, there's not necessarily agreement from the respondents about what those improvements should be. There were responses both ends of the spectrum in terms of additional turning lanes and signal or roundabout. And it was very interesting to see that. And we'll walk through the alternatives that we have been evaluating so far. Chad will walk through those and talk about some of the highlights, some of the benefits and perhaps some of the challenges with those options. We also wanted to about land uses in the area. One of the things that this study is important about this study is that we're looking at transportation, traffic, and travel improvement, as well as land use that can support that, and vice versa. For the purposes of this study, this type of a corridor, transportation and land use are linked and can support one another. So we asked this question: what would folks encourage or discourage from a land use perspective? Those that you can see identified with the red circles are those land uses with the strongest support from the respondents of the survey. Includes the protection of natural areas and open space, professional offices, service businesses, and restaurants. And I did want to point out that this is fairly consistent with what was heard in 2005 for the original study, for the 50 transition study. Single-family homes, motels, and department stores received the least amount of support in terms of land uses. And higher density residential, such as the apartments and multifamily units, received more of a mixed response, and it is basically split with regard to that. And then the last highlight that we wanted to share with you from the public survey this evening, we asked what other land uses folks might encourage or want to see in the study area. And this was an opportunity for people to just type in whatever their thoughts were. And it was really interesting. We had sidewalks, crosswalks, keep the open space, nature trails, small businesses. What we pulled out of the comments that we received, bike and ped connections, small business support, there were references to what we would term mixed-use development within that. And you do find a presidential component does tend to support business and retail and service. So there were a lot of connected thoughts and ideas with this open-ended question from the survey. So all of this information is one part of the information and the feedback that we're gathering through this effort. We will be gathering more feedback hopefully from you this evening. Before we do that, I'd like to just transition into some of the more technical aspects of what we are evaluating, and that includes the alternatives evaluation at the intersection of Route 50 and North Line Road. And we are looking at two different alternatives, proposed roundabout and proposed signal with a modified geometry. And I'm going to turn it over to Chad Schneider at this point to walk through these various intersection alternatives that we have been evaluating to date. Chad, take it away.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, everybody, for attending the meeting tonight. I just want to point out that this is the first step in a process to determine what type of concepts will be recommended for this. Will be recommended for the corridor. These concepts will be refined and looked at in further detail during future phases of design. So again, these are just initial concepts, and we're looking for some feedback on these concepts. Some of the policies that we followed were from DOT. They want the roundabout looked at first when you are looking at an intersection reconstruction project such as this. So you need to prove a roundabout doesn't work. So first off, we looked at a one-lane roundabout. It fits with minimal impact, but it did not satisfy the level of service or the operation thresholds that are required by DOT based on delays per vehicle. So from there, we looked at a two-lane roundabout and what lane configurations would be required to satisfy those level of service requirements. And we'll show you that here in a few minutes. And then again, to look at a different alternative, we looked at an upgraded signalized intersection. That one had some additional impacts to extend the limits in order to satisfy the level of service or the operational delays as well. So first we're going to show you the two-lane roundabout. The future Stewart's is in the bottom left corner. The Adirondack Truck Company is in the bottom right. And the existing Stewart's is in the top left to help orient and yourself to where we are right now. North is to the right in this drawing also. So Route 50 runs left and right, North Line Road runs up and down on the drawing. So this shows lane configurations that would be required to meet the level of service standards set by DOT. As you can see, there's 2 lanes entering on both Route 50 approaches as well as the North Line approach from the east. Leading up the hill, there's 1 lane approach coming in. So the keys to here to this concept are there is some impacts to the corners due to the quadrants of the intersection. The future Stewart's design was taken into consideration and their location of their driveways are not impacted. And neither is their parking lot either. So that's not being impacted. Some of the pros for the roundabout is it allows for some traffic calming and reduces speeds through the intersection. Lower speeds equals safer intersection, less severe accidents, safer for pedestrians also to cross. Provides pedestrian refuge, islands in the middle, so pedestrians will only crossing one side, only have to be concerned with one direction of traffic at a time. No signal maintenance. This will also offer a gateway entry into the town of Milton and the Route 50 corridor. And without having a traffic signal here, it will still function as designed during a power outage. The signals need power to run. Some of the cons on this one, there are no ped crossing signals, no dedicated pedestrian intervals, and as you'll see when compared to the signalized intersection improvement, the impacts to the corners are a little bit more. This would be the improved traffic signal to meet the operational delays and levels of service set forth by DOT. We needed to add more lanes to increase the capacity to meet those standards. While there are less impacts at the intersection, the addition of the lanes entering and exiting the intersection required more reconstruction beyond the intersection, longer reconstruction limits when compared to the roundabout alternative. So some of the pros here are less impacts at the intersection, signalized pedestrian crossings. Each one of these crossings would have pedestrian signals with countdown timers and pedestrian push buttons as well. Some of the cons to this option are there's longer pedestrian crossings without refuge in the middle. On both the Route 50 legs, you're crossing 5 lanes of traffic, which is 60 plus feet. The signal would require maintenance over the years, as well as the pedestrian signals. Will not work during an outage without a generator being hooked up to it. Does not improve safety because it does not slow down vehicles as much as the roundabout would. Someone was approaching the intersection at their approach speed, the light was green, they wouldn't slow down very much at all as they go through the intersection. Where at a roundabout, everybody would be slowing down, and that would help increase safety. So, from here, we're going to move on to the corridor-wide draft concepts. It's important to note that both of those intersection concepts can be tied into either one of these corridor draft concepts. And again, these are concepts, nothing's been set in stone yet, and so we're here to determine what the public thinks about these concepts. So again, here's the same image as before, showing the study area. Our study area that we're talking about in the corridor is from the intersection of North Line and 50 to the south down to the village of Boston Spa. As Jackie noted, we met with the city of Saratoga Springs already. We're looking to connect with the village of Boston Spa to help connect and discuss the bike and ped plans that they have in place and are working on currently. So the existing roadway section. The existing roadway has a two-way left turn lane down the middle with one one travel lane in each direction, which is 12 feet wide. And the shoulders on the current roadway are very wide at 12 to 13 feet approximately. On the east side, some of the shoulders abut right up to the driveways and some of the parking areas of the businesses as well. So for the two draft concepts, we looked at two different concepts. One concept was raised median treatment. These raised medians were placed in areas throughout the corridor where they would fit without restricting movement in and out of businesses too much. This option one stays on the existing center line of the roadway and adds sidewalks to both sides. Option two is the same raised median treatment. We shifted the center line over to the west to accommodate a multi-use path on the east side of the road. It's also important to note that some of the concept elements are interchangeable between the two concepts. So option one, we have new curves and sidewalks on both sides, reduced shoulder width to the minimum design standard. The 6-foot shoulder would also serve bicyclists and may be able to be striped or painted to note that as well. We have raised median or flush median, where the median does not have curves, would be a two-way left turn lane to maintain access to the current businesses. And again, as I noted before, this one is on the existing roadway center line. The picture to the top right shows you what it would look like in plan view, and the section down below shows what it would look like in section view. We have a 5-foot sidewalk, a 6-foot bumper strip to allow that separation between traffic and pedestrians. Also increases the comfort level. We would be introducing street trees and pedestrian level lighting in that bumper strip. The 6-foot shoulder, like I said, would also accommodate bicyclists. Then you have a 12-foot travel lane, the raised median or flush median, depending on where you are in the corridor. And the other side is the same. The back of the sidewalk would, on the east side, would tie into most of the edges of the parking lots for the existing businesses. So option two is a similar pavement section. Does not have pedestrian accommodations on both sides in order to fit within the existing roadway property limits. So we shifted the center line of the road to the west to allow for the multi-use path to fit on the east side of the road. Again, we would be putting in street trees and pedestrian level lighting, and the shoulders, again, are 6 feet wide and are able to accommodate bicyclists as well. So at this point, I'm going to pass it back off to Jackie to take you through the rest of the presentation.
Sure, thanks, Chad. And so one of the things that Chad had hit on very briefly, but I want to highlight a little bit more, is that the intent with these alternative concepts for the corridor are really to try to work within the existing roadway, right-of-way. There has not been a survey done at this point. That is something that would be something that we need to happen as part of future efforts for implementation, but really trying to work within the existing right-of-way, understanding there's existing parking and existing businesses that aren't successful in the corridor and trying to accommodate for that. We thought it might be helpful for everybody to visualize a little bit better. Chad's been showing you some 2D cross-sections and plan views of what we're talking about in terms of some improvements in the corridor. We want to show you a quick little 3D visualization rendering of what it might look like. So for many of you that are joining us this evening, I'm sure this view looks pretty familiar. This view is if you're traveling from the village of Wilson Spa through the town of Milton heading toward North Line Road. Islander Pool is on the left of this image. GNI Homes is on the right. The Cement station is just down the possibly look like in the future. So this represents the sidewalks on both sides. So you have sidewalks here, pedestrian tail lighting, street trees. This is the buffer strip, and then there is a 6-foot shoulder appropriate for bicyclists. Raised median for a portion of the corridor here, as Chad had indicated, with some landscaping there. So this is just a possible rendering of what this might look like in the future. So here's the before, and then here's the after. So we just thought it might be helpful to share a little bit, help you visualize a little bit in brief what it is we're talking about. So at this point, we are going to pause, and we would like to hear from you as the public. So we would like for you to join an interactive exercise. If you have your cell phone, please just grab your phone, and you can go to pollev.com/MJPlanning518, or you can text MJPlanning518 to 37607. Or if you're in front of your screen, or you have your phone with you, you can take a photo of the QR code that's up on the screen right now, and it'll take you directly into our interactive session. So I'm going to give everybody a moment. So you can text MJPlanning518 to 37607. Take a photo of the QR code on your screen, and hopefully that'll get you into our session. All right, again, MJPlanning518 to 37607. Or go to the QR code. Give everybody a moment, and then we will jump to our first interactive question. Okay. So here's the first question. We'd like to hear from you. Which corridor option do you prefer? You should have the opportunity within this session to select one of these options. So the raised median with sidewalks on both sides is the first option. Next option is the raised median with a multi-use path. We do have options for none of the above, and we also have options for some features of both. Alright, so this is great. This only works when folks participate, so thank you for participating. We appreciate that. We'll give folks another few seconds to get your answers in, but yeah, we want to hear from you. Do you like the option with the sidewalks on both sides, the multi-use path, none of the above, or some of both? All right. So it looks like right now, those that are participating this evening prefer the multi-use path option at 57% right now. And some do prefer both sides, and some prefer some features of both. Okay. All right, folks, so we're going to move on to the next question. All right, here's the next question. We'd like to hear from you, which intersection option do you prefer? Okay, so as of right now, you have the options of the modified signal or the roundabout. We'll give folks a few moments here. So far, it looks like of those that are participating this evening with us, 79% prefer the roundabout intersection option, and 20% the modified signal. Okay. All right. We'll give folks just another few seconds. All right, so it will move on. So it looks like the roundabout has a higher percentage of folks that prefer that. All right, we're going to move on now to the last question of this interactive session. What features would you like to see above all others within this corridor or the intersection at North Line and Route 50? Here's an opportunity for you to type in anything that you want. So this is kind of that open-ended question. All right, more food options. Sidewalk. Okay, keep your ideas coming, please. All right, so we just need to be able to walk to more restaurants. That's what I see selecting head identities. This is great. Okay, landscaping, traffic calming measures, pedestrian level lighting, restaurants, walkable, landscaping. Our ease of turning at the intersection to the new stewards. Right, a marked bicycle lane. Okay, something that signals that, yes, this is for cyclists. Okay. Oh, apologies. There we go. I wanted to spell that. Okay. Oops. Sorry about that, folks. There we go. All right. Marked bicycle lane, sidewalk, pedestrian lighting. All right, this is great, everybody. We'll give you another couple of seconds. Medians and sidewalk, bike path, restaurants, small businesses, trees, sidewalks. Certainly seeing some common themes coming up here in terms of the features that you'd like to see. Sidewalks, trees, bike paths, restaurants, small business. This is great. Okay. All right, we're turning to go north on 50 from North Line. Okay. So we'll give folks just another few seconds to provide some comments here. Drive to the restaurant, okay? All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on. I do want to point out that you can provide additional comment after we're done with the presentation this evening at the website, miltonroute50.com. You go to the contact page and there's an opportunity to type in any and all of your comments, and we do welcome those. I am going to, at this point, however, move on to the next section of our presentation. We do recognize that the town board has a full agenda this evening, so we want to pay attention to that. But one of the things that I did mention earlier is that connection between land use and transportation. So far this evening with you, we've been focused on the transportation improvements within the corridor. Now we want to talk a little bit about land use. And we find it's helpful to have a little context with regard to that when we're talking about land use. And so we first look at population trends. We wanted to understand what was happening here in the town. And town-wide, over time, there has been a steady increase of the population. 4.2% increase in population since the 2010 census. And that is on par with the Saratoga County population increase over that period of time. And Milton, as a town, does account for just over 8% of the Saratoga County population. We also wanted to take a look at what the current land use trends are. It is overall a pattern of auto-oriented development and land use within the corridor. 39% of the land use within the corridor is commercial, and that is represented by the red areas that you can see on this graphic to the right of the screen. These are the commercial areas, and those are those areas primarily immediately adjacent to the 250 roadway. 18% of the land use in the corridor is residential, and it's low density residential, and that was primarily associated with the Saratoga Avenue corridor. 17% is vacant, 12% is considered transportation. Those are the actual roadways themselves. And then the remaining portion is what we would consider a mix of high density and medium density residential. And those are the darker areas of yellow. So these areas of yellow are considered high density, medium density residential. And together that accounts for about 14% of the land use. And this data, this information is from the Saratoga County Tax Parcel Database. A variety of business types do exist in the corridor, and they are quite successful in the corridor, from retail to commercial, eating establishments, banking, automotive. And based on the information, again, that we have in the Saratoga County tax parcel database, there's over 80,000 square feet of commercial space existing within the study area. And based on evaluation of with some of the vacant properties, there might be opportunities for, to enhance that. So what does that mean? What does that mean in terms of future trends and opportunities within this particular corridor? Well, one of the things that we are looking at is how can multiple travel modes be included within this corridor in a more safe, convenient, and inviting way. We heard from you just a few moments ago in terms of features that you would like to see. A lot of those elements are things we would talk about completing the street. So creating a street that can accommodate multiple modes of transportation, including vehicles, public transit. There is a CPTA bus line that does run down Route 50 here. Opportunities for pedestrian facilities and accommodations for bicyclists as well. We heard through the survey how important it is to support existing businesses within the corridor, and we have taken that into account as we have developed some of the alternatives and the concepts that have been presented so far this evening. Some of the things that we've also been hearing from the survey and from our first public workshop are elements that we would call placemaking. And those are, placemaking is really about creating opportunities in a community that represent a strong sense of place, a unique identity, and that can attract people, whether they are visitors or people that are coming to frequent and patronize your businesses within the corridor. It's creating that sense that, hey, I've arrived in the town of Milton within the Milton corridor, I know that I'm here. And it's also about sustainable growth. It's about looking for opportunities for continued growth in the corridor, which again we have heard through the survey to date, as well as opportunities for infill and redevelopment. As businesses that exist there now may evolve over time, what are the opportunities for infill and redevelopment from a legal perspective? So where does that lead us? Ultimately, that leads toward a possibility in terms of opportunities for a mix of residential and commercial development to allow for more housing options to support that commercial activity, and looking at opportunities to create a more inviting and attractive atmosphere for multiple modes of travel. And mixed use does promote a more walkable built environment, and that can help to increase private investment within a particular corridor and development opportunities. It can support the existing businesses, and it also helps to support tax revenue generation. And quite honestly, a lot of what we're seeing in terms of trends, particularly in these types of corridors, is people looking for opportunities to get out, have a little more active lifestyle, and to be able to walk within their community and their neighborhood. And honestly, just get out, particularly in the world we're in today, to get some fresh air. And so the things that we are seeing in terms of trends, a lot of which you had supported in some of your earlier responses this evening, are what we are thinking about and would like to get some feedback from you on in terms of future land use. And this is important because out of this study will come recommendations for land use policies and possibly zoning changes within the corridor to accommodate the vision for this corridor. So we have another interactive exercise. You all got so good at it, now we're just going to keep it going. So again, log into our interactive exercise. You can text MJ Planning 518 to 37607. Take a photo of that QR code, and I'll give you just another moment to get everything up and running on your end. And then we have two questions for you for this interactive exercise. So again, MJ Planning 518 37607, or take a photo of the QR code. All right, we're going to move on to our next question here. So, would you support mixed-use development along the corridor? So right now, and we did not give you an option of not enough information, not sure. This is a yes or no question. We just wanted to get a a quick snapshot from everybody that's participating at least this evening, what your thoughts are. And from a response perspective, it looks like 81% of those joining us this evening would support a mixed-use development along the corridor, with 18% of those joining us would not support that. All right, so I'm going to move on in just a moment, since this was just a two-option question. We'll move on to the next question. And this is an open-ended question, and we want to hear from you. Is there an area or a corridor that you have visited, or did you travel to or through, that you would like this corridor to be like in the future? This helps to give us a little understanding and context of what you're thinking and what you visualize for future corridor improvements. All right, Route 9 going north into Saratoga Springs. Certainly a gateway type of corridor. I believe we're talking about the area just outside Scott State Park, Union Avenue in Saratoga. Do you have any idea of, yes, we do. The majority of the portion on the west side of the roadway is wetland. We are aware of that. As a point, that's why we were looking at locating the multi-use path in that option, quarter option that Chad explained on the east side. Northampton, Route 9 corridor in front of Staff, Rhinebeck, Loudonville, Latham, Saratoga Route 9. Okay, Maple Avenue, Route 9, Saratoga to the Greenfield line, okay. Malta, Route 9, Dunning Street, towards Reserve Forest, Saratoga Route 50. Okay, this is all really helpful for us to have an understanding of what you're envisioning for this corridor. All right, we'll give folks just another few seconds, and then we will move on to the next steps. Okay, all right, folks. So I think we're going to go ahead and move on to our next steps, and then we are going to wrap up. So our next steps for our purposes, from the project team side of things, we will be finalizing existing conditions and trends. We will be continuing with stakeholder meetings. We will be preparing preferred concepts based on feedback that we have gotten from you in our discussions, continued discussions with the committee. And we will be hosting a third public meeting at some point in the future. And so please stay tuned in terms of when and where that might be. So in terms of public comment and feedback, we would strongly encourage you to go to miltonroute50.com, visit the website. You can stay up to date on materials, information, the survey is up there, you can see the results, and you can provide comments. And those comments come directly to our project team, and we share those with your Route 50 committee and take those into consideration. So with that, that's what we have for this evening. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing our screen and turn it back over to Supervisor Milton.
Thank you very much.
Are we done, Ben?
We're done, yes.
Got the lights back on?
Probably. I'm saying I can't end the meeting, but you folks from MJ are free to leave us. Thanks for sharing what progress we're making. Okay. Next up is a motion to accept the bid specs from MJ for the work on Town Hall and to advertise for the acceptance of the bids. John, could you give us a wee bit of an update there?
The specs are finished. We went through them, made a few minor changes. They brought those back. I think the one hard copy is here. It's in the Gazette, 2 hard copies. And they can be picked up at MJ digitally. That will be out now until January
5th, I believe.
5th, I think.
4th or 5th?
Right, first part of January when you'll have a bid opening. And that's really where that stands.
Okay, thank you. So we need a motion to accept those specifications.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay. Brenda, can you poll the board?
Councilman Blaisdell.
You said yes.
Councilwoman Curran.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isakson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zelaya.
Yes, thank you. Next up is a motion to approve Humana as our insurance provider for our retirees. We've spoken with Jager and Flynn. They came and spoke to our retirees about our options that we had for health insurance. The last time they were here, Humana was not an option as it did not cover some of the higher cost drugs that our retirees needed. And when they came back with this option, they were covered. And the cost to the town is about $60,000 less than it would be under the plan that we previously have. So I have spoken personally to a couple of the retirees. They are a little wary of change, but they understand that the savings were too big for the town to pass up, and as long as they have coverage, they're happy with it. I'm also aware that I told the retirees that we would try to schedule another meeting with those folks and explain what's going on. But since Thanksgiving, the county average of infections or contagions or whatever word you'd like to use is almost hitting 5%, and I did not feel comfortable bringing retirees who are in that specific age group in as a group, even if they were 6 feet apart with masks on. I just didn't feel comfortable bringing those folks in. So they will be receiving a letter this week explaining the change and what they need to do to stay covered. So we need a motion to accept Humana as our insurance provider for our retirees.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Brenda, can you call the board, please?
Councilman Blaisdell. Councilwoman Curran.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isakson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zelaya.
Yes. Next up will be a motion to approve the proposed health insurance plan for the town employees. We aren't making any changes to those plans. They'll still have the same options that they had last year. There is a slight increase in the plans, anywhere from 5 to 9%. But basically, it's the same coverage we've had MVP and CDPHP. So I'll need a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Brenda, please call the board.
Councilman Blaisdell. Councilwoman Curran.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isakson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zelaya.
Yes. Next up is a motion to accept the resignation of Marco Bianchi from the Town of Milton Planning Board effective,
Now.
I'm pretty sure he said immediately, so, okay. Motion to accept his resignation from the planning board.
I'll make that motion.
No, Frank beat you to it.
Oh, okay.
You can second,
I'll
though.
second.
All right. Any discussion? Brenda, please.
Councilman Blaisdell. Councilwoman Curran.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isakson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zelaya.
Yes. Next up, a resolution to appoint Nancy Padula to the planning board for a term ending December 31st, 2023. Whereas the Town of Milton Planning Board consists of 7 members, all appointed by the town board, and whereas current member Marco Bianchi has recently resigned, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of Milton hereby appoints Nancy Padula of 328 Jasky Drive, Ballston Spa, New York 12020 to the Town Planning Board effective immediately for the term ending December 31st, 2023.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. I just want to say, being the liaison for the planning board, Nancy has been very dedicated to the position. She's been there just about every meeting, so.
Brenda, can you pull the board, please?
All right, Councilman Blaisdell. Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Frolich.
Yes.
Councilman Saxon.
Yes.
Supervisors-elect.
Yes. Next up would obviously be a motion to advertise for the alternate position for the planning board. We can do this on our website. Anybody wants to put it on their Facebook page, you're welcome to do that. And do we need to, should we spend the money, do the money for a regular newspaper ad? I know it's rather expensive for an ad. Any thoughts, anybody?
Have to be a town resident.
Well, yeah.
I'm just,
We can go with the webpage first and
Okay.
see what kind of
If we
results
don't
we
get
get,
anything
and
else,
then
all right.
if we have to go out to the paper, we can do that.
Okay. So someone needs, we still need to move that motion along.
I'll make the motion to advertise for
All
the
right,
position.
Frank will second.
Councilman Blaisdell. Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Frolich.
Yes.
Councilman Saxon.
Yes.
Supervisors-elect.
Yes. Next up is a letter from Rebecca Dreer. I'm requesting to buy out 28 hours of my vacation time, if possible, can it be processed with the payroll next week. Also, can it be a separate check or bank deposit into my account? I know we get hit with taxes if they are combined. I do have days scheduled for both vacation and personal to use my time around the Christmas holiday. I have also scheduled my vacation for next year, which hopefully COVID-19 won't cause us to cancel again. Thank you, Rebecca Dreer. So motion to approve buyout of 28 hours of Rebecca Dreer's vacation time.
I'll make that motion.
Frank seconded. Any discussion?
I do have one question. So the comment regarding getting hit with taxes if combined, wouldn't that be taxable anyway? If someone was to take a sick personal or vacation day, would the taxes still not be taken?
It would be taxable, certainly. I think what she was worried about, if you had 28 hours to 48 hours, to 40 hours, it's going to be a bigger amount in one check and tend to be taxed a little bit more.
Okay.
Well, I'm not in favor of the separate check. I think it's kind of a dangerous habit to get into. We've done it before, and people never ask for this. You get it with that paycheck. So I don't think it's a good idea to be separating those out.
They've always been done in separate checks. You've gotten your regular payroll check, and then you've gotten a buyout check.
I've never seen it or never approved it, that's for sure.
It's just how it gets done in the comptroller's office.
Well, this controller doesn't really think it's a good idea to do it that way either. I guess I'd have to look into that before we do it.
Anything else? Okay, well, I would like to figure out what the tax consequences are before Dave did say there were some irregularities or complications to writing two checks, so we'll check with him, and if it's not too big of a deal, then we'll write one check, and if it is, we'll have to separate them out. Hold the board, please.
Councilman Blaisdell. Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes, as long as this separate check thing is looked into before payment is given.
Councilman Frolich.
Yes.
Councilman Saxon.
Yes.
Supervisors-elect.
Yes, thank you. Next up is to set a date for a public hearing for local law 5, a local law designating a certain highway intersection for posting of a stop sign requiring a full stop before entering the designated intersection. This is the intersection of Citation Way and Birch Tree Lane. Too much wood in this town. So that's a motion to set a public hearing for January, what's our first meeting in January? 5th?
Be the second Wednesday when they.
Yep, hang on a second, I'm digging out my calendar. That would be the January 13th at 7:05. 7:35. Sorry. January 13th, Frank, the second one, our regular meeting, first meeting in January. Frank, can you turn your speaker up? Okay. You need a motion, right? It's at the public hearing, so I need a motion on that.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Quick question. We should designate which intersection we're actually putting it at. Citation is a horseshoe that has two intersections on the same street.
I believe it would be the westernly most intersection.
Okay.
It's actually a T, but it would be the westernly most T on of the horseshoe. Brenda, can you pull the board, please?
Councilman Blaisdell. Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Frolich.
Yes.
Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalak.
Yes. Next up is a discussion on the petition to form a Liberty Hills Water District. We received that last month, and Mr. Rossi, do you feel comfortable speaking out or forward a little bit? It's your neighborhood, right? Well, your folks' neighborhood anyway. I'm hoping you talk to your parents.
As little as possible. Just kidding. I know Jean Rosie's also online here. She raises her hand, don't be surprised. But we handed a petition. I think it was about 92% of the assessed value was represented, which is well above the 51% threshold. I believe the next step would be going to a feasibility study. That's the request. And unless you have any questions, I think that's the gist of it. There's 4 streets involved in the Liberty Hills area, and this was supposed to be done probably about 15 to 20 years ago, but some other development unfortunately sidetracked that for reasons that I was not directly familiar with, because I was a little bit younger, a little bit more distant during that time. But I know that there's still interest, obviously, from those petitions to get water over there.
Okay.
I've got a question, Frankie. Where is this water coming from?
There is currently, there was an extension done that is meeting Liberty Drive, I think it is, and the Lilith Fair Street over there.
Right.
So I believe that there would be an extension coming off of that.
From the village water supply?
Whatever is serving that area currently, I believe it is the village.
Because they have, I believe they'd be paying, what, 3 times the rate for the village water?
They're aware, but there's so many wells involved, and the concern about wells drying up, that there is a definite desire to get water there. Also, obviously, as part of the feasibility study results that would come out from that.
All right, well, I'll call the mayor tomorrow and get started on that study, or find out where the water would be coming from to double up.
Next step is you ask MJ to do a feasibility study, and then it goes out to these residents again. Once they come back with your study, it goes out to these residents again. and they get to say, yes, we're interested, or no, we're not.
Can you repeat that just for the Zoom folks at home, because Brenda's probably a little mute here.
She's saying an engineering company has to do a feasibility study?
Right, the next step is, we ask our engineer company to do a feasibility study, and they'll come up with where the best spot to get water is and how much it's going to cost the residents before the residents decide, yes, they definitely want to do this, or no, it's going to be way too much and they don't want to do it.
My concern was, I was pretty sure it was coming from the village. I think that's the only access. I know the county gets it, but that also runs up Fairground Avenue, I believe.
The village line itself ends right down the street in front of, what is it, the old Lasky property over there. So that's where the line is. I think the extension came from there in the first place back when I went up to, I keep tripping on it, Lilith Fair and Liberty Drive ultimately.
Okay, but I know there is I'm pretty sure, they check into this, there's a line that goes up to the new public safety building and the jail, but I don't think we'd be allowed to tap into
No, those
that.
are county lines, and I don't believe we're allowed, not just us. I don't believe anybody's allowed to tap into those lines except for the public.
Benny, could you call on Gina or bring her in? She's asked me to have you bring her in so she can comment. She probably has a little bit more information just to put Barb's mind at ease on this part of it.
Mr. Supervisor, while you're doing that, just before we jump the gun, I think the first step will be to request a proposal from MJ as to the cost of that feasibility study. Then once we have that proposal, the board will decide if they're going forward.
Okay.
Correct, and the feasibility study will also lay out the cost of doing the infrastructure and everything else. And that, if you do decide to do a district, will have to be bonded and paid back by those residents.
It's usually over a 20-year period.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I can hear you. Hang on just a second, Gina, hang on. Nope, where'd it go? Okay, Gina, try it again.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, your brother's not his head, so I'm guessing we can.
Okay. Just for the background, back before the Lilith Fair was even built, and we developed the Liberty Drive, which is the horseshoe that was added onto Liberty Hills. My father brought a water line up from the village, there's village water, to the point of Lilith Fair, who then tapped into that line and used the available water. That was a big controversy back then, but whatever. Liberty Drive got enough water, but that line was meant to supply the rest of Liberty Hills, and it did not. It could not. And I have been in discussion with the mayor regarding purchasing water from the village, and I believe the engineer did look into it, and it was not a problem with that. We won't be tapping into the county lines; those are totally separate. But we'll be using the line that my father brought up originally. It comes up Fairground Ave, across the Liberty Drive horseshoe, and it ends at the corner of Aldrich and Independence.
Okay, thanks for that information.
You're welcome.
Okay.
I got the good looks, she got brains, see? Come on, Benny, you're wearing your candy cane jacket tonight.
Yeah, I'm gonna be nice. This Christmas almost. All right, yeah, so we'll get started on that for you.
Thank you much.
I'm not sure where we're gonna go with it, but we'll get started on it. Next up will be a discussion on the town website, trying to update that, make it a little bit more navigable, easy to get around in. Brenda, you have some information for us?
Well, you and I talked to somebody last January, and they sent us a proposal between $5,000 and $6,000 to totally redo the website. I've spoken to BAS, who does our website, and it'll cost about between $3,000 and $3,500 for them to upgrade, get us a search engine so that we can search. Right now, you can't do any searching whatsoever on the website. Modify the pictures so that they're smaller so you can see more on the website, make it more user-friendly. I just got an email from a third company if we need a third bid. It's just a matter of the board saying, yes, we need to do this, and there is, in this budget and next year's budget, there's money in an informational technology code that we probably could tap into for this, so.
Thanks. So Brenda and I will look into those bids or those companies, and maybe we can even get kind of like a dry run of what they would be proposing for us to look at, and maybe they could show up something that the board can take a peek at. If we're back to meeting in person anytime soon, they can come in. If not, perhaps if it worked out like it did with MJ there, we can fine tune that process a little bit.
Yeah, Benny, I'd like to see some kind of layout. I was on the board when we hired this company, and I remember it being quite expensive, and I really haven't been happy with what they do. I mean, our page is very difficult to maneuver. Along with bids, I'd like to see some kind of demonstration, what they can come up with. We need something a lot better than what we have.
Yeah, I think a demonstration would go a long way towards helping us make a decision to see what we're getting
Shaking
for.
your head, I think it was about 12,000, wasn't it? It was, yeah, it was high.
It was horrible. 20,000 was the worst site I've ever been on.
Okay, next up is a discussion on the area variance at 523 Middle Line Road. This is the piece of property that is Treble Park for us, and the people who have purchased the property. Barb, why don't you give us a little history there?
Brenda gave me a map tonight so I can really see the layout on this. It's a long, narrow piece of property. The house is up towards Middle Line Road. It goes back quite a ways. They are looking to put up a garage for storage, and I guess they have some classic cars and things they want to store in there. So it's a good-sized garage. But they're looking for it's normally a 50-foot variance off the property line, and they're looking for they're looking for a 25-foot variance on that 50-foot setback. So, but I'll have to be at the meeting, and I'll have to probably answer any questions. It's a public hearing, so I want to see how the board feels about this. I don't see any reason. I don't think we use that property. I don't think it's anything that we're planning on using in the future for development. I don't see where the 25 feet would, impact us at all, but I need the board's input on it, so I can, if there's any comment at the public hearing, I have to make it.
I don't personally have a problem with moving.
I already looked at it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with moving the buffer from, down to 25 feet. It's a strip of land that we're going to use infrequently at best to get in there and do it if we decide to do any maintenance on that piece of land. The reason it's up on that side is because the Route 67 side is all wetlands, and it would be almost impossible to get to that piece of land.
It's just a really small easement so we can get equipment into that upper part. Am I right?
You've already given half of it away for a driveway, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, I've seen that, so.
It's in the middle of the right.
When I looked at the drawings the other day when they were sent to us, I didn't have a problem. If you understand the classic car guys, the garage they'll put up probably is better than the interior of my house. They're very picky about their operations. The thing I would only be concerned about is things like waste oil and things like that, but I don't think you're going to find outside storage. I don't think you're going to find a lot of mess around it. We don't use it. Nobody uses that property, to be quite honest with you. It's just a forever wild sit there. I think we get more truckers parked there taking a nap than we do anything else.
I was being nice.
I did have a conversation with the fiance, soon-to-be wife of the couple that's going to be there, and she said it was going to be, out storage for their classic automobiles, a few pieces of farm machinery. and she didn't make it sound like it was gonna be a garage where they were working on cars, you know, on a regular basis. So like I said before, I don't have a problem with allowing that variance to be 25 feet.
So that's what I can say at the zoning board, public hearing. I'm all set then.
No objection.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Resolution 65, authorizing inter-budget transfers from the controller from AA 1680-2, central data processing and capital outlay, to AA 1315-4, controller contractual expenditures. $3,200 from AA 0917, unassigned fund balance, to AA 1440, engineering contractual expenditures. That is the fee for MJ for their work on the building, their initial work on the building, and when that gets funded back through the bond, we'll put that money back in. $3,000 from AA 7110-2, Parks and Equipment, to AA 7110-4, Parks contractual expenditures. No, the lines aren't matching up here. Is it me, or the lines just not matching up? Yep, a little too long. Okay, $15,000 from A1110-2, Municipal Court, to, where's that one going?
I think it's the way he does his worksheets. I can't.
Yeah, I know, it's not lining up right. Hang on just a second here. John, you got any thoughts on this? Is that sheet better?
See if that one's better.
Okay. Well, I can figure one of these out. $400 from Special Fund 0914, unassigned appropriated fund balance, to SF 3410. It's $400 for the fire contract. There was just a little misconfiguration there on the fire contract, and so we had to take something out of there. $2,000 from DB 5110-1, maintenance of streets personnel, to DB 9060-8, hospital and medical benefits. $5,000 from BB 5110-4, lighting contractual, to BB 9010-8, state retirement system. And I'm going to get this one wrong, I just know it. $30,000 from, I have that.
It looks like you split them out, is what you did.
Yep.
Two different accounts.
Excuse me, Benny.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, what did you just say? Did you just say a DB 5110 street lighting?
Right.
That is incorrect. It's the B 5110. DB is a highway fund.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It is BB. I'm sorry, I read it wrong. Yep. It's BB 5110-4. Yep, the BB 9010-8. Okay. And then $30,000 from, let's go with, he split them out between the two of them. Okay. A1110-20, municipal court equipment outlay, and AA 7989-2, other cultural and recreational equipment, 2, hospital and medical insurance and employee benefits. So, motion to approve those inter-budget transfers.
I'll make the motion.
Oh, second if you want.
Thanks.
Just as a clarification, most of those transfers are within their budgetary categories,
Yes.
if not all. They're just shifting some money to cover some
It looks
backs.
like cleanup.
Yeah, clean up.
Yeah.
Can you poll the board, please, Brenda?
Sure. Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kirk.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isakson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalando.
Yes. Okay, we will open the floor to public comment, and I'm going to start with Mr. Ross.
Frank Rossi Jr., 63 Saratoga Ave, Apartment B, Boston Spa. Thanks again for the discussion about Liberty Hills and the water district. One thing, I've been in communication with a good friend and a great resident of ours, Gary DeRusso. He's somebody who is a definite stakeholder in the intersection that was discussed tonight. And while MJ did admit to the fact that not all stakeholders have been reached out to, I do find it troubling, and so does he, that he has not been reached out to, especially when a rotary was basically being slanted into his land most of all in that situation. I think that needs to be rectified immediately. I mean, back in the days when we were developing the Hannaford property in Ballston, for the fee lines that had to be adjusted up there, we needed to go to those landowners before we went public with it. Now I understand this is public versus private, but it's still the right course of action to let them know ahead of time before you start showing maps taking people's land or possibly adjusting something related to it, not just the land, but the zoning related to it. He should have been front and center in their discussions, not last to be contacted on that intersection. I'm disappointed about that.
Well, there was a process of how we need to contact people, and the stakeholders and the property owners they're on the list. Frank, just they weren't first or second. We had to run by the state and then the county, and now we're reaching out to the individual. So yes, he will be contacted.
Please do. Thank you.
Brenda. Bernadette.
Bernadette from Bateson, 9 and Mechanic Street. I'm here on behalf of the Boston Spa Business and Professional Association. I'm a board member. I am encouraged to see some of the recommendations or proposals for the corridor. That is something our organization has been advocating for to improve that area. It's a gateway to Boston Spa and the town. Basically, we've been doing that since 2005, if not longer. Steve Springer headed that effort back in the day. I hope that in the stakeholder meetings that are forthcoming that the BSBPA can be included. So if somebody could provide me information, Bernadette@ballston.org would be great, or Ellen@ballston.org. She's our, I can't think of her title. But thank you for presenting this, and I'm looking forward to hearing more.
Thank you. Just a second, Linda. I'm going to go to somebody who's out here. Ray, go ahead.
Hello?
Yep, go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, I just had a question concerning the property that we had discussed for the emergency corps building, property that we were looking at. Is there any progress been made on the fact that that's parkland? Has that been looked into any further?
We haven't heard back yet, Ray. We are asking that question. We just haven't heard back yet.
Okay.
Okay?
That's what I was looking for. Thank
Okay.
you.
Linda, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Linda Elmer. I live at 42 Frederick Street, and I'm here representing the Boston area seniors. It's been 10 months since you guys moved in, and you're still here. I don't, we've had a discussion last week with the supervisor, doesn't look like you're going anywhere soon. You haven't started work on your building, you're not looking for a place to rent. So, I would think, geez, 10 months, you should have been able to do something. But on another note, I also wanted to let you know that the seniors were approached by the Bogosian brothers. They have a vacant store lot in the city plaza, the Milton Plaza rather, near Hannaford's. And they said, they asked me, they actually approached me.
Come closer to the microphone.
Oh, sorry. They actually approached me and said, you're still looking for a place to meet? I said, yes. He goes, well, we've got an empty building. He goes, why don't you go ahead, go take a look and see if it's something that you can use or that you would, you know, be able to use. And sure enough, we've made some arrangements with them, and they've actually donated their spot, which is empty right now, so we can have a meeting, or maybe when the COVID quiets down after the first of the year, we can have some bingo or something, because I field questions all the time about the seniors. We have been very lucky in our group. We're 462 strong, and not one of us has had the COVID yet. So everyone is being really, really careful. But like, I just wanted to be part of the public comment, and I just wanted to thank the Bogosian brothers. They opened the place up for us in the morning and they shut it down at night. They turned the heat up. It's warm, it's got bathrooms, it's flat, there's parking, and the seniors absolutely love it. So right now we have a place that we can function. But the whole caveat with this is when we understand if they find someone that wants to rent the building, then we're out in the cold again. And I'll be right back here pushing. The seniors like it there, but they like it here a whole lot more. So.
Quick question,
You're welcome.
Linda, quick question.
Yes,
Do you need tables and chairs in that?
We're having that
Come
taken
tomorrow.
care of tomorrow.
We're bringing that up tomorrow.
3 whole tables and 6 card tables. But we'll take what we can get for now. And some chairs.
How many, do you have enough though, I guess? Are they gonna have enough for what they need?
We'll probably have enough for this session, but after the first of the year, we're gonna have to come up with some more or something, you know, whatever. So we bought we went out and purchased our own PA system so we could have something there to, because we had one meeting there and no one could hear me. So we took care of that and moving on. But like I said, we would really, 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 really like to be back in this building.
And we'd really, really, really like to have you back in this building.
So, thank you for the back rooms. We have the pool players playing, the crafting is starting up. I got about 12 guys that love to play pool, and they've been coming in and they wear masks and they sanitize and they take their temperatures and do all the questions. These guys are really good and they're really enjoying themselves, so.
Do you want the card table brought up to the,
Yeah,
Okay.
we're gonna do that tomorrow.
okay,
So,
okay,
okay, thank you.
thank you.
And thank you very much. Somebody cares about the seniors.
Just don't kick it off tomorrow. I'm glad
He
it worked
will.
out. I'm glad it worked out.
It did, we love it.
Sharon, go ahead. Sharon Lasada.
I didn't have anything to say.
You got your hand up. Okay, never mind then. Bruce, Tom, anybody?
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, sir.
Sure all you can.
One more person here. Marion, go ahead.
question about, the progress and what's being done at the town hall. I saw a construction trailer there that I hadn't seen before.
The trailer is the break room for the highway crew because they won't be able to, when they're in there in the morning and they load the trucks up and take off, then they have to open the garage doors and the place goes to whatever the outside temperature is in there, and that's not great for those guys. So we've put that trailer up. We're going to have water to it by the end of the week here, and it has power. They'll have water. They'll have a break room and a bathroom that they can use, as long as they're socially distanced. So that's what that is.
Great. What's going on with the town hall?
The bids have gone out. They're out for contractors to look at, and then they'll have to have them in by January, I think we said the 5th? Yep. And then we'll have to make a decision on who it is we want to go with, and we can take the next step.
How will that be funded?
That will be funded by a bond issue.
Okay, thank you.
We need your address, Marion.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's 516 Elk Circle, Boston Spa.
Okay, thank you, Marion. That
Thank
was,
you.
yep. That was Marion Pitzas, P-I-T-S-A-S.
I got you.
Okay, seeing nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Well, I have a couple of things.
Sure, John.
I don't want to sound like a broken record, but just to let everybody know, Frank and I, with the ability of Zoom, met with Tom and Bruce this morning, and Mike McNamara and Jim Mitchell this afternoon to hear their pitches on the sewer rates. I think the one consensus that everybody has is we need to get this settled. I guess what I'm looking towards is saying we should schedule a date first part of February to have the final hearing. That'll give us time to get in order anything that we feel we need to have that rate hearing, and have that rate hearing, have some discussion on it, and put this thing to bed. I feel if we don't set a date, Benny, that'll just drag on for months.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, John. My only concern is if leaders above us decide that it's time again to close things down, are both parties going to be comfortable with a Zoom type of affair and
No.
you know, and
No.
and what do we do then?
Well,
Right now we're allowed 20 people in this building, and
correct. I don't think we should use that as an excuse.
I'm not using it as an excuse.
I
I'm just
guess
putting.
my point is that we can find bigger areas to go to, which they do a lot for these type hearings. I know when the county was looking at airport expansion, they used the firehouse on Geyser Road.
It's no bigger though, really.
We can move everything out of the garage in the highway department.
Correct. I think there's alternatives to that. I think we need to set a date. Just as a question, where do we stand with the engineering part of this?
We've been out twice with the latest roundabout, the tour that we took was with MJ and the county and Mike, and I will call Joel in the morning and see what they can write us up for, or write up for us.
Okay. But that's my feeling. I think we should actually make a commitment to getting this done.
You wouldn't be comfortable even in here with the limited people?
I'm comfortable having a meeting wherever. I'm not comfortable limiting it to Zoom.
So, right, okay,
and-
okay.
And limiting the number of public that can.
Well, that's the problem though.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, after, let's see, what, we're 9 years, let's see, 2000.
All right, never mind.
We're 9 years overdue.
I'm asking-
I think we could.
That's not the
I
question.
think Mr.
I understand the Zoom part, I totally understand. I don't know how we would accommodate, and I'm with John kind of on this, to set a date. If we have to pull back on it,
Mr. Crowell should have a point, and I was at that public hearing at the firehouse.
Can you get up and use the microphone so people can hear you?
We have 30, 20 people watching, Bruce, if you don't mind stepping up, just so they can hear what's going on.
Sure, I'm sorry. If we could do it at a venue that could accommodate the public, I think it's to limit the, I believe this is a very important issue for the public as a whole, and to limit it to 20 people, I don't think is the proper method to do it. So if we had a venue that could handle more folks, there's quite a few people that are impacted by this issue, and I think they should have an opportunity to speak.
Yeah, I was at that public hearing too, when we were packed in like sardines, which obviously we can't do. So my
Obviously.
concern is the venue too.
Well,
I
but to be
understand.
quite honest with you, we could have vaccine in New York State by this weekend. So we don't know what's gonna happen after the first of the year.
And the numbers in
Everything at this
Saratoga
point-
County are jumping up and up and up.
Correct.
So we could be closed down by February.
We
1st,
could
too.
be. I'm
So-
not disagreeing with that.
But we're,
My point is, we need to make a commitment, set a date, and head towards that date. Because as it stands right now, we go month after month after month,
we do, yeah. I'm
nothing
agreeing
being
with you.
done.
I'm agreeing with you, but how
Yeah.
are we going to?
So
do
if we
it?
have to do something with that date by the time we get there,
You set the firehouse up, and how many people can we sit? Maybe we can sit 25 or 30.
no,
Yeah.
probably, I would think if we set it up correctly, we can do 40 or 50, to be honest with you.
Measure it out and let me know.
Because we hold our meetings in there, and we're spaced out. The same as you would here.
You mean socially distanced?
Social
Okay.
distance, yes. Well, the spaced out part.
I didn't want to get you in trouble, John.
I won't be
Almost.
You got it? Ready?
Go.
180 seconds. I wasn't going to speak, I didn't want to elongate it, but Mr. Froelich, I think you're on the right path. We have to establish a date and time. If we have to push it back, as we did since July, we'll understand. But maybe we'll set it for mid or end of February. That gives us a little bit of time. Maybe we got to kick it into March. But we need to set it. And I think what I want to make public is we need to have a public rate hearing. We need to bring the principles of heritage forth. And I think getting them to testify and have a stenographer and to capture it for the record is important. And to have the sewer company principals there to answer questions and answer in the immediate moment. This is not a difficult process. It is not about words. It is not about pipes. It's not about pumps. It's about dollars. I think we'll stipulate that the pipes and pumps are good. They have to, by your resolution, keep them in a dedicatable state at all times. So if MJ comes back and says they are not, then they're gone, because your resolution said so long as they remain in a good and dedicatable state, they can stay in business. So if they come back with a negative report, this sort of resolves the issue according to your resolution. But I don't think they'll come back with a negative report. The issue before the board regarding this rate hearing is the fact of the last chart we brought is they have a 500% return. They put $1 million supposedly in the ground. They've gotten $5 million. It's time that we end this and that we encourage job creation and growth in the town. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we still have some comments, you have got a hand up? And
Yeah, Gina's got a hand up there.
Oh, I'm sorry, Gina.
That's okay.
Go.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I just wanted to add to what you were discussing before regarding the water district. The reason for the neighborhood wanting to join is not just to get municipal water. There are a couple of neighbors whose wells are failing, and there are several neighbors who have developed mineral and sulfur problems in their water. So I just wanted to let you know that, any not rush, but help it along a little bit so that these people are not faced with not having water. That's why they approach me, because some people are in dire straits.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one more question here from Cheryl Makata. She said, what happened with McFarland Johnson about the airport yesterday at the county meeting? The County Buildings and Grounds Committee has to put out bids by law to have someone who has aviation or airport experience as an engineer to put out an RFP. The only firm that answered or responded to that RFP was McFarland Johnson, and as long as there are projects on the airport, by law they have to have an engineer on those projects. So McFarland Johnson was re-upped as the engineering firm for the airport and the projects that are happening at this time. When more of them, when I have more details, like the fence and the runway, the parallel runway for the gliders, I will, as a member of the Buildings and Grounds Committee, I will pass them on as soon as I get them.
How long were they extended for?
They were extended for 5 years, I believe. At least 3, possibly 5. One more. Tony, do you, well, I'll find out in a second. Tony Licata. Going once?
You hear me?
I can hear you, Tony, go ahead.
Hey, this is to you and the town board. Hope you're paying attention with this airport issue. You know as well as I do what's going on. You're not letting the public know. They are looking to widen this airport. Houses are going to be taken, any houses. Ichabod Lane become a dead-end street. Part of Rollin House East will be taken. Nobody is speaking up for what's going on. So I think we should get proactive and start speaking up what's going on, because you know as well as I do, the airport is going to be expanded. Fought it last time, but we're very fortunate. So I hope there's more people listening and they get involved in this airport so that the 4 of us that had to fight this last time. Please stick up for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Okay, seeing no other hands up, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? Frank seconded. I heard him.
Okay.
All in favor?